Hey guys, Coach Jason, welcome back. So I want to focus on something today, okay? There, are 5 things, sometimes, 5 or 6, but I want to go over 5 things today that should be consistent components of training, okay? In order to improve, not only your endurance, but your speed, but to maximize your ability or the ability of your athletes to run their very best 5K, okay? And these are things that should be done, regularly, consistently. Now, it's up to you how to decide how to kind of implement them. But what I'm going to do is in the description down below, I'm going to put a bunch of different videos that are 5K specific that I've done on this channel, and as well as a bunch of 5K training programs from sub 20 down to sub 15, so you could see how these things are incorporated within the training parameters for a 5K to run your best or your athlete's best 5K and to continue improving. Okay, because it's really, really important. These pieces are important, okay? And I just want to go into a little bit more detail, okay, on how to do it. So the first one is obviously a consistent long run. Some points I want to emphasize, okay? Long run essentially should be about 20% of your weekly volume. In some cases, it's a little bit more early on, but generally, 20% is a good ballpark. So if you're running or your athletes are running 50 miles a week, then 10 miles is ideal. In some cases, you might have some people go 12, depending on who they are and stuff. But it's about 20%. So it's 60 miles, about 12 miles, 70 miles, about 14, 80 miles, about 16, and so on. But it could vary for certain people. Some people need a little bit longer long runs. Some people need a little bit shorter long runs. So there's an individualized component to it. But if you can get to the point where you're running 20% of your weekly volume in a run per week, that's a good thing. The long run should also be done consistently. One of the little caveats that I incorporate into long runs is if you have a big race coming up, and it doesn't matter if it's a mile or 3K or 5K or even a longer race, I cut the long run back about 20%. Or so the week prior. So let's say next Saturday you're running a 5K, and you're generally you're at 60 miles a week. Your long run's about 12. I cut it back to like 9 or 10. Okay, the weekend leading up to the next race, to give the legs a little bit of a break, and then you can go right back up into the regular long runs again. So, but a consistent long run is a key component to the training. The next thing is year-round speed development. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the whiteboard in a few minutes just to go over some you'll see how everything's written down with some details so that you can write it down. But I want to just emphasize some of the points right now. With speed development, it doesn't matter if you're in base phase or in pre-race phase or race phase or recovering. Speed development is important to do all year round. Now, it varies as to what type of speed development you do or your athletes, and it also varies depending on the type, point in season that you're in and how often they do them. And again, the individualized components come into play with here. But I want to give you a couple examples. So, you have your 50 to 100 meter strides, okay? And then you have progression 150s, which is something I like to do either once a week or once every other week, where it's 3 to 4 times progression 150. And these are really, really great for middle distance and distance runners, where it's 150 meters, but each 50 meters gets faster. So it's like a 50 meter float, a 50 meter stride, and a 50 meter sprint. And then you can walk back or jog back. It teaches you how changing gears. And this is at the back end of a workout, okay, or a run, to simulate doing it when you're fatigued. Okay, so simulate the end part of a race. Okay, something that you can do after a tempo run or after repeat miles or whatever you're doing, or after a 6 or 8 or 10 mile run. But it's something that you do on the back end of the run. The progression 150s, 3 to 4 of them is sufficient. Okay, some cases I'll have some folks do 5, but 3 to 4 of them is sufficient. 200 meter efforts at mile pace. Okay. It's important to train in a multi-pace system. So here, maybe 6 to 8 times at 200 if you get to that point, or even 5 to 6 is fine. But if you can get to the point where you're doing 6 to 8 times at 200, that's really, really good. But 5 to 6 is totally fine. You do a 200 meter easy jog recovery and just kind of locking in at mile pace, get repetition work at mile pace. Not only does it help give you speed development component for a 3K and 5K, but it also helps get familiar with doing pace at mile for your goal mile pace without it having to be a full out workout. Okay, and in that case, if it's not, you don't want it to be a full out workout, then 4 to 6 reps is totally sufficient. Okay, then there's 300-meter efforts. Okay, I like 300-meter cut downs, so progressing from 3K pace down to like mile pace, and you take a slow 100-meter jog or 100-meter walk jog in between each rep, and maybe 4 to 5 of these, no more than that. And again, on the back end of a workout and the back end of a run, just like the 200s and the 150s and the other strides. So these are all good to do, and the longer the reps, the longer the reps are, then the slower the pace gets. So, and you'll see what I mean when I go to the whiteboard. And then you have tempo and threshold running. Okay, your anaerobic threshold, which is essentially when you use it as a tempo. We're looking at 20 to 25 minutes of continuous running, which is at about 10K pace, with about 5 to 10 seconds per mile added to it. So anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds slower per mile than your 5K pace. But it's a good continuous run. I wouldn't go beyond 25 minutes at that level or at any level for this particular run. But even if you have to build it from 10 or 15 or 12 towards the 20 to 25 minutes, and actually I have a video that shows you how to kind of build towards that level as well in terms of threshold running and stuff like that. I'll attach that down below too. And I think you'll find it very informative and interesting. So if you're going to watch any videos, watch them in their entirety so you don't miss any important details, because I do explain everything. So, but back to this, you either have your continuous anaerobic threshold or tempo run, or you have anaerobic threshold repeats or cruise intervals, anywhere from 800s to 1,000 meters to 1,200 meter efforts to mile repeats, depending on the level that you're at, with a short recovery at a slower pace than race pace. Okay. It's slightly faster than the tempo run, but slightly slow. It's basically in between the tempo run and race pace. So say 15 seconds per mile slower, 15 to 20 seconds per mile slower per mile for those reps, okay, as the tempo run is 20 to 30 seconds slower. So it's slightly faster. And this is also a great non-invasive way of doing, loading and getting volume. Instead of doing, let's say, 6 times an 800 at 3K pace or 8 times an 800 at 5K pace, you can do 8 times an 800 at threshold pace, which is slower with a shorter recovery, but it doesn't take you as long to recover from threshold running as it does race pace running. So it's something to keep in mind too. It's also a great workout to do the week of a race. If you're going to do a shorter race like a mile or a 3K, you can do this. Like say that race is on a Saturday, this is a great workout to do on a Tuesday. Okay, some threshold running, kind of help preserve the legs as well. So, and I'll give you more detail as we go over to the whiteboard. Okay, next is multi-pace training, doing workouts at mile pace, doing workouts at 3K pace, both very important. Okay, you have to be able to improve your mile and your 3K, and even down your 800 and 400 as you go up as well. So the better your mile performance gets, the more you can improve in a lot of areas. I'll also put a video, 12 1 mile time trial, how to improve it, and how to set the right training paces based on a mile time trial, whether it's you or your athletes. That'll be down below too. So you'll have a lot of good videos in the description today. So again, I'll take you through a couple of workouts as we go over here. And last but not least is workouts at your goal pace, at goal 5K pace. So if you're looking around 1540 where everything's like 5-minute pace, just as an example, or 1840 where it's 6-minute pace, workouts will be done at that pace. Okay, whether it be 800-meter efforts in 2:30 or in 3 minutes. Okay, stuff like that. So everything will be done at goal 5K pace with certain recovery periods, depending on how long the rep is. So now you have stuff that's slower than 5K pace, 5K pace, 3K pace, mile pace, and even faster. Going towards 800-meter pace when you're doing the really fast strides, like the 100-meter strides. You can generally progress from a mile down to 800 pace for those. So, but again, you'll see over here. So with that, let's take you over here because I want to show you the details, okay, of the workouts. Here's my whiteboard, okay, and we'll go over them. Okay, so first one here, and your consistent long run, okay? 20% of your weekly volume, a minimum of 20% of your weekly volume, but it varies per athlete, okay? Again, consistently, you do it consistently, flat, rolling, whatever's available to you. But if and again, it also depends on what you and your athletes can handle and what kind of races you're looking to do. So the rolling on occasion, even if you alternate them, it's a great way of building strength. If you get them on soft surfaces, it's more forgiving on your legs too. So, and again, you cut back the weekend prior to your key race. So if you're running a 5K next Saturday, the Saturday before you cut out, or Sunday you cut back your long run, 20 to 25%. Give the legs a little bit of a break. Okay. Next one, year-round speed development. Okay, whether it be progression 150s like I mentioned, 50 float, 50 stride, and 50 sprint. Okay, each 50-meter increment gets faster to stimulate changing gears. It's a great way of taking kick out of a lot of middle distance runners' legs. Okay. 100-meter accelerations, progressing from a mile down to 800-meter pace. Okay. You can do a 100-meter walk back, or take a minute recovery, or whatever it is. 800-meter, 30-second recovery for the older, more experienced athletes. Okay. 200-meter runs at mile pace. If you can get to 5 to 6 of them, that's really, really good. Some people can get to 8, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay. And then last but not least, 300-meter cut downs, going from 3K down to mile pace. Okay. With a slow 100-meter jog or jog walk. Okay. Important components of speed development. There's a lot of other things you can do too, but these are really, really good ones to be kind of consistent throughout the year. So, threshold and tempo running. Okay, approximately 10K pace plus 5 to 10 seconds per mile. So it's about 20 to 30 seconds slower per mile than your 5K pace. Okay. So you have the 20 to 25 minute continuous tempo run that you're building towards. Okay. And not exceeding, because then it crosses the anaerobic barrier. Okay. And the last thing you want it to do is become counterproductive. So 25 minutes is the point where anything beyond that, it can be counterproductive. So that's where you want to kind of cap it as. Aerobic threshold running is different. That's slower than this pace, but it's longer, 30 to 60 minutes. That's a different run, okay? And they're done differently, okay? But anaerobic threshold run, anaerobic tempo, and then you have your cruise and your anaerobic threshold repetitions. Again, whether it be cruise 800s or 1000s, 1200-meter efforts, 1600-meter efforts, depending on where you're at, how fit you are, how fit your athletes are, their age, what they can handle. It's really up to you to kind of pinpoint what you feel is most appropriate for them. Okay? And then, again, great loading workouts for volume. They're non-invasive, so they're great for race week too. Okay? Then, workouts at mile pace and 3K pace. Okay? Some of the workouts, like 6 to 8 by 400 with, let's say, a 115 recovery, 75-second recovery at mile pace, at goal mile pace. So again, if you're looking to run a 5-minute mile, you're looking to run those in 115 or 75. If you're looking to run a 6-minute mile, you're looking to run them in 130 or 90. Okay, 4 to 6 times a 500. It's kind of an odd distance, not a distance that many people do, but it's a good distance to practice. Okay, take about a 90-second recovery at mile pace. Okay, and again, it's just a little. You're not exceeding 2 miles worth here for shorter reps. You're not exceeding 3,000 meters here for shorter reps. So it's something you build towards if you can't get to that. But again, 500 meters is a great distance too, because imagine you're running a 5K race and you start kicking out from 500 meters. People generally don't do that. So it teaches you how to kind of move in other parts of the race. So keep that in mind. And then on the other side, 3K pace, 5 to 6 times a 600. So looking at about 3,600 meters, 2-minute recovery after each rep, or 4 to 5 times 800, okay, with a 2-minute and 30-second recovery. If you can get to 6 800s by a 3K pace, 2-mile pace, that's really good, but 5 is a good number to get to. And last but not least, workouts at your goal 5K pace, okay, or you progress from current to goal, depending on fitness levels, and again, where your athletes are. Some might need a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that, and vice versa. So this is where coaching with the eye is also important, not only coaching with the watch. Okay, seeing how people recover, respond to workouts. That's the other component of coaching, is really, really paying attention and being attentive to those type of cues from your athletes. Okay, so some workouts at 5K pace, 8 to 10 by 600. This is a great rhythm workout. This is a great workout to do about 10 days out or something like that from a 5K race. Okay. The reps are not too long, so you can kind of rip them out. You can kind of do them with a 200-meter jog recovery. This is a good workout. 6 to 8 times 800 with a 2-minute recovery at 5K pace, and you're building towards longer reps as you get older and more experienced. But again, some of your distance runners might need these, or your middle distance runners. It's really up to you to decide who needs what. 5 to 6 times 1,000 with a 2-minute recovery, okay, at 5K pace. And again, this is different than 5 to 6 times 1,000 at threshold with a 1-minute recovery. Those reps are slower. This is at race pace. So 4 to 5 times 1,200, 230 recovery, and 3 to 4 times a mile with a 3-minute recovery. all at goal 5K pace. If you get to 3 times a mile, you're in good shape. You can get to 4, that's really good. 4 times 1,200 is 3 miles worth of running. You get to that, that's good. You get to 5 of them, that's 6K worth of work, really good. Okay, and the same applies to the thousands. The volume doesn't change. 5 times 1,000 is 5,000 meters worth. 6 of them is 6,000 meters worth. So it's a little bit over distance, but you can get to that extra rep. Great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Okay, and the same applies here. Okay, no more than 4 miles worth of running, no more than 6,000 meters worth of running. Okay, but again, you don't always have to be that way. You build up towards it over time. So these are things that I think are really, really important. And in my experience as a coach and a former competitive athlete, I found to be really, really important towards running your absolute best 5K. How to lay it out in training is important too. So watch the videos in the description down below so you get an idea of how things are laid out, or it at least gives you a template to how to set training up, or how to maybe build your own training plan for your athletes. You can use mine as a guide, or you can follow it too. I have used my programs with a lot of success at every level for my athletes. So I'm a USATF certified coach as well, and hope you found this helpful. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, especially if you're a runner or a coach and you want a lot of content, a lot of helpful content. This is the channel for you, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's also helpful to not only to the channel's growth, but it lets other people that know that this channel exists. And I want to share my knowledge with as many people as I possibly can in the running community. So your help is really appreciated. Be safe and train hard, okay? Look out for each other. Talk to you next time.